I overheard my brother-in-law and his fiancée plotting to humiliate me at my wedding, so I turned the tables and ruined their big day instead. I, 24 female, am supposed to get married in 3 months. My fiancé, Leo, 25 male, and I have been together since high school, and we know each other's families really well. I get along well with most of his family, with just one exception, his brother. Leo's brother, Dave, 27 male, has always been awful to Leo, and by extension, me as well. He just happened to be one of those kids in high school who thought it was very cool to be rude to people for no reason, and unfortunately, he never grew out of that phase either. So, he's a brat, and nobody, apart from Leo's parents, likes to put up with his behavior. And the only reason that even they accept it is because he's their son, no other reason. Another thing about Dave is that the guy couldn't hold on to his girlfriends if his life depended on it, and it's very obvious that the reason women don't want to be with him is because a few months in, he does tend to reveal his true colors. And once they've seen that side of him, no sane woman would want to continue to be with him. Unfortunately, he's just as conventionally good-looking as he is annoying, so women are drawn to him by his looks and eventually repelled by his behavior. And that's why he used to have a new +1 to every event, every time we saw him, which was once or twice in 3 months, or sometimes even less. Somehow, around 6 months ago, he managed to find a woman just as toxic and awful as him, and they've been together ever since. Jenna is a vapid, mean girl, you know, the kind who doesn't miss a chance to pick on other people ever. They're literally a match made in heaven, if you ask me. This is also Dave's longest relationship, and it seems like they're going to last because it's been almost half a year and they haven't broken up yet, which seems to be a pretty good sign. I, for one, was glad that they found each other and decided to be together because they're doing the world a favor and not ruining other normal people's lives by inflicting themselves upon them. I know I sound like I'm the hateful one right now, but trust me when I say this, you'll find yourself hating these people by the time I'm done telling you guys what they did to me, or what they tried to do, to be more precise. A few weeks ago, Leo proposed to me, and I said yes, obviously. We've been together for long enough, and it just felt like the right time. We've already been living together for a couple of years, so we're practically married already. We just needed to sign off on it legally and have a ceremony, but other than that, I already feel like I'm married to him. Before we could announce it to the world, though, David and Jenna decided to post that they were engaged. I'm not even kidding. Leo proposed to me and I said yes, and around an hour later, we decided to FaceTime our families and tell them the good news. My family was already aware of it since Leo had asked my dad for his blessing, but he still needed to tell his family. But as soon as we unlocked our phones, we realized that there were a bunch of texts from our friends and some relatives telling us to check our socials and asking if Dave really was engaged. We were in shock at the time because nobody had seen this coming given his history with dating. It was already really shocking that he was engaged now, and to a woman he had barely even known for a year, no less. It was insane, and we had no idea how to react to this. We contemplated saving our news for later, but decided that even if we didn't announce it on social media just then, we still needed to tell our respective families about it. So Leo called his parents up and told them what had happened, and they seemed really thrilled. They also shared with us the news of Dave and Jenna's engagement, and were even talking about how chaotic but fun it would be if all of us chose to get married on the same day. Yeah, right, not to be rude, but that was literally never going to happen, ever. Anyway, we decided to let them have their day and posted about our engagement a few days later. We already knew that Dave and Jenna would make a big deal out of this, and they did live up to their expectations. They texted Leo to congratulate us, but made sure that they made some snide remarks about how we were being inspired by them, and it was almost as if we were trying to copy them. It was such a pathetic attempt to make us seem like we were the weirdos here, when in fact, it was they who just got engaged after barely 6 months of knowing each other. And Leo and I had been together for years, so our engagement news was obviously not as surprising as theirs, which is why people weren't that worked up about it. I felt kind of bad since it was almost as if they'd stolen our thunder, or whatever. But I got over it soon enough because the bottom line was, we were getting married for us and not for them. So I didn't need to care about what other people thought, least of all what Dave and Jenna thought of us, because they were literally the most irrelevant people we knew. And no matter what, everyone knew our wedding would be the more meaningful of the two, because our relationship was more meaningful than theirs. They were getting married for attention, and we were getting married because we actually loved each other, and that was a fact that nobody would be able to deny. So anyway, a few days after our engagement, we decided to host a party at our house and invited Dave and Jen as well, not because we wanted them there, but because we wanted to be petty and show them that we couldn't give less of a damn. I thought that they wouldn't show up, but they did. I guess free dinner and drinks was an enticing offer for them. When they got here, they spent the entire evening talking to everyone else about their engagement and trying very hard to show off the tacky rings. It was sad how hard they were trying to be the center of attention, but the novelty of their engagement news had worn off, and it was getting kind of annoying the way they were begging for attention. So people were trying their best to shut them down or just straight up ignoring their attempts to ask for attention. After a while, they stopped and started talking to each other instead, which was a much better alternative than whatever they were trying to do earlier. I'd had a few drinks and my ears were feeling really heavy from the earrings that I'd worn, so I went to the restroom to take them off. Our bedroom has an attached restroom, so that's where I headed, and within mere minutes after I'd entered the restroom and shut the door, I heard the door of the bedroom also being shut. Which was weird, because I swear I'd closed the bedroom door after myself. Then I started hearing voices talking rapidly about some wedding and their plan to humiliate me. I quickly realized that it was Dave and Jenna who were sitting in my bedroom at my engagement party and planning to humiliate me at my wedding. My blood began to boil as soon as I realized what was up, and I had half a mind to come out and have them thrown out of my house. But instead, I took the calm away and decided to eavesdrop on them. Their plan to humiliate me at my wedding was to fool me into believing that they were on good terms with me before the wedding, and then ask for permission to make a speech. During the speech, they'd say what they really thought of me, and obviously it wasn't going to be nice things about me. They'd have to play the long game and be extra sweet to me in the months leading up to the wedding, but they were ready to do that because my humiliation would be worth it in the end. And why were they doing this? To get back at us for stealing their thunder. I wish I was making this up, but unfortunately I'm not. They truly and genuinely believed that we were the ones stealing their thunder by choosing to get engaged around the same time as them. Then they trash-talked me some more while I remained hidden in the restroom and heard every single word of what they were saying. Eventually, after probably 15 minutes, which felt like forever, they finally left, and I bet they were really pleased with themselves and their stupid plan. But it didn't matter because I knew what they were up to, and I would make sure that I got the last laugh. After everyone went home that day, I sat Leo down and told him all that I'd overheard, and he wasn't even surprised that they'd been planning something like this. He just seemed disgusted that they were even contemplating going to such lengths just because they felt like they were getting the attention that they felt they deserved, for whatever reason. He wanted to confront them that very day itself, but I convinced him not to, just so that we could humiliate them on their wedding day. We knew for a fact that they'd get married before we did, since they'd been bragging about how Jenna's uncle had been able to book the most coveted wedding venue for them, and they were scheduled to get married in a month. It would be a little rushed, but the place would make it totally worth it. So all we had to do was wait it out for a month. Their wedding invitations were sent out just within a week of our party, and that's when I put my plan into action. Like I'd said, Dave was the kind of guy who had a girlfriend every few months, and sometimes his relationships with his girlfriends overlapped. Now, I don't know if these women were even aware of it, but it wasn't my place to say anything, and I hardly think they would have believed me even if I did try to warn them. But I remembered all their names, and I knew what they looked like, and thanks to social media, I was able to trace 8 of his exes. Dave never ended his relationships on good terms with his exes, which made sense because he was a douchebag. So it was no big surprise that when I reached out to these women asking if they wanted to be a part of a plan where they could get back at him, every single one of them said yes. I didn't even need to convince them. They agreed quite readily and happily. So I made a group with all of these women and filled them in on what they had to do. It was really hilarious to watch these women talk crap about Dave like never before, and I don't think I've ever laughed harder, even at professional comedians. They absolutely roasted the life out of him, and I'm sure if this chat was able to be leaked, he'd probably never want to be seen in public again. And finally, on the day of the wedding, it all went perfectly according to plan. As soon as the ceremony was about to begin, 8 of his ex-girlfriends walked down the aisle in quick succession, and once they were close enough to him, they took off their veils and absolutely tore into him like a swarm of flies on a corpse in the savannah. It was super entertaining to watch, since they were totally exposing what an awful human being he was in front of all his friends and family, while he stuttered and failed to find words because he was still trying to recover from the shock of it all. Eventually, Jenna, her parents, and Leo's parents had to intervene and break it up so that they could go on with the ceremony. They threatened to call the cops, and only then did they finally leave, but not before a final dressing down. They did get married that day, but it was a dismal affair, and nobody even cared about them anymore. The ex-girlfriends were all that people were talking about after the ceremony. Dave was trying his best to put on a brave front, while Jenna was nowhere to be seen. I guess she must have been crying in the ladies' room, because when she finally did join us, her makeup was all gone and her eyes were all red and puffy. Nobody had much to say to them, and even the speeches felt forced and awkward. I'd obviously recorded the whole thing as secretly as I could, and Leo and I were laughing at it all the way back home, because it was just so funny to watch Dave fumble for words while 8 of his exes verbally attacked him. He totally deserved this, and neither of us felt bad for ruining their wedding, because this is the kind of crap they'd been planning to pull off at ours. So, this was fair game. What I didn't realize is that while I was recording, Leo's mother had seen me holding my phone and trying to suppress my smile. And even though nobody else had noticed because they were too focused on Dave and his exes, she had noticed it, and she knew that it had been us who had orchestrated this entire debacle. A day after the wedding, she reached out to me and asked me to tell her the truth. I was kind of nervous and contemplated lying to her. But then Leo and I decided against it and ended up confessing that it had indeed been us who had been behind this. We didn't want to lie to her, and there was no point in trying to cover it up either, since the plan was to eventually tell his parents anyway so that they'd know what an awful person Dave really was. So he told her the truth, and even explained what I'd overheard at my engagement party. They'd planned to humiliate me, which is why I just got to them first. Even though we explained the whole situation to her, she still got really upset about what we did. She believes that ruining his wedding and getting revenge on them, even though they hadn't even done anything yet, was just really unnecessary. Not only did we ruin their wedding, but we also did something that would inevitably mess up the family's reputation, and we didn't even stop and think about how that would affect her and Leo's father. All their relatives are still talking about this, and it's just really humiliating for them as well, which I understand. She thinks we owe them an apology, but that's where I draw the line. I can apologize to Leo's parents because they were also caught in the crossfire, but I am not apologizing to Dave and Jenna under any circumstances. Even Leo thinks the same way because, of course, we did end up humiliating Leo's parents in a way as well, but that wasn't our intention. And even though Dave and Jenna hadn't done anything yet, they were still planning to, and that was just as bad in my opinion. We could have taken the high road and not invited them at all to avoid any drama, but if they're being awful to us, then they'll get the same energy back, and I'm not sorry about it at all. I'm just not. Leo's parents are still upset about it, though, and strongly feel that we should apologize to Dave, at the very least, if not Jenna. ITF for ruining my brother-in-law and his fiancée's wedding after I overheard them planning to humiliate me at my wedding? Update 1. Hi there. So, it's been a week since I posted here, and Leo and I eventually decided not to apologize. Even if Dave and Jenna hadn't done anything yet, it didn't mean that they wouldn't do their very best to try and humiliate us the first chance they got. Had we decided to get married first, they would have gone through with their plan without a second thought. So, if they wouldn't think about ruining our wedding twice, then why should we? We did what we had to do. Of course, they still don't know who was responsible for any of this in the first place, but it sure got people talking. Unfortunately, this wasn't the kind of attention that they'd wanted, but hey, at least we're not stealing their thunder anymore. They can have all the thunder they want. Heck, I just threw in some lightning for drama and created a total crap storm that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. I really think that they should thank me and Leo for what we did for their wedding. We turned an otherwise boring wedding into something that people would be talking about for ages, so we really just did them a favor. We haven't heard from them since the wedding, but we did get to know from a mutual friend that they've been talking crap about us relentlessly, even though they don't even know that it was us yet. Apparently, they've been telling everyone who'll listen that they believe that we manifested something bad for them, and that's how this entire fiasco came to be. I have no idea how they turned this into an opportunity to talk about us as well, despite not even knowing about our involvement yet. Wait until they find out, LOL. We have no intention of telling them, but Leo's parents might, since they're very upset about what we did. I'm sorry, but we're not sorry at all, to be honest. If Leo's parents do sell us out, though, it'll be a real blow for him, and we might have to cut them out of our lives. They've always treated them equally, but we'd expect them to stand up for Leo this time, and I absolutely think that they should as well. I'm not just saying this because he's my fiancé, but because I genuinely believe that Leo is a far better human being than Dave and Jenna combined, so they should keep that in mind before they do anything at all. But that's just my opinion. Update 2, Leo's parents just called us an hour ago, and surprisingly, they said that even though as parents they couldn't forgive us for being petty and would still say that we could have handled this way better. They were ready to understand where this was coming from. I'm glad that they finally do realize that we're not the bad guys here. We're just people who are really frustrated by how insufferably annoying Dave and Jenna are, and wanted to do something that would teach them a lesson. We've cut them off as well, like a lot of you guys had suggested. They've been blocked on every single social media platform. And we're going to make sure that none of our wedding details are known to them under any circumstances. I know this will sound paranoid, but we've literally created a wedding website that has all the details, and only the people we trust can access it. It's a close and intimate ceremony anyway, so I don't think anyone who's invited would do anything to jeopardize our day in the first place. But we're still taking precautions because we don't want a repeat of the crap that we pulled at Dave and Jenna's wedding. Although it seems unlikely that they'd be able to do that, even if they tried. Because like I already said, Leo and I have literally been together since high school, and the last ex-boyfriend I had was back in middle school. The same goes for him as well, and I really doubt that my 7th grade boyfriend would even be interested in showing up at my wedding to ruin it. Heck, I don't even know if he's in the same city as us anymore, so I don't think they'll be able to do anything about our wedding. Besides, ours is going to have some actual security since we can afford it, which they couldn't. I don't mean to brag, but when it comes to putting them down, I just can't help myself. It's too tempting. There's not much time left before the wedding, and Leo and I are really excited about it. We just hope everything goes well now. Update 3. Okay, so it's been quite a while since the last update, but I'm so thrilled to announce that I'm married now. It feels surreal to even refer to myself as a married woman now, even though I've definitely felt like Leo's wife for a really long time now. We got married a couple of days back, and I'm still ecstatic. The post-wedding phase really is special, and thank you guys so much for your kind words and messages. It really does mean the world to us, truly. Our wedding was dreamy, beautiful, emotional, and so much fun. I don't think I'll ever forget even a single second of the day. It was that special and memorable. It was exactly what I'd wanted and dreamed of for so long, and I really couldn't be happier about it. I don't mean to gush about this, but I just want to keep talking about my wedding. I know it sounds crazy, but that's just how special it was for us. I'm sure most new wives feel the same way too, so it'll be fine. Leo's parents were there and so were mine, obviously. They did come around regarding the situation with Dave, and once their anger wore off, they admitted that they might have overreacted. Dave did not deserve an apology, and even though we were petty and mean, it was quite well deserved. Dave and Jenna are still together, and when they realized they weren't invited to our wedding, they tried to confront us and fight us on it through fake accounts, but there was no point. They couldn't provoke us anymore. We simply didn't care enough now, so they could talk crap about us to their friends, and they could call us from different phone numbers to try and get us to talk to them, but it simply wasn't going to matter to us anymore. We were unaffected by whatever they did. Dave even complained to his parents about not being invited, especially since we'd been invited to theirs, but they refused to do anything about it, and he ended up throwing a tantrum, which was also ineffective because, for starters, he's a grown man. So there's some tension between Dave and his parents right now, which helped our case as well, since it showed just how juvenile and annoying they really are. I'm glad that they can finally see him for what he actually is and aren't just putting up with his behavior because, he's family. Leo and I are above this petty drama now, though, and are just looking forward to living peacefully as a cute little married couple.